What is going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Mike Roach Podcast. As you can see, this is actually, Alvin Williams, former NBA point guard, okay? This guy went toe-to-toe with the greatest of them, okay? How you feeling, Alvin?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me on, brother.
NBA analyst for Sportsnet and the Toronto Raptors as well. Alvin, man, you seem to be having a lot of fun with VC and Matt Devlin on these calls. Okay. How are you enjoying it?
I love it, man. I love it. Like I said before, man, I'm at a stage in my life where when you work and you do things, you do it with great people, and that's one of the things when you get these opportunities, such as working with the Raptors on the broadcast team, Sportsnet, and the people that you're working with, man, is really important. It's important.
Well, I could tell, man. You look like you're having fun. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And
No, I'm having fun, man. And I got my main man, Vince, next to me, man. And Vince, like we get the laugh, we get each other's sense of humor because we talk a lot off air. We were both young when we met each other, so we relate a lot, right? And then Matt and working with Matt and getting to grow with Matt a bit. So it's a cool combination, man, and it's really fun. To your point.
that's good, man. So we're gonna kick this off right now, talking about the state of the NBA, okay? Because the product has been a topic that's been on a lot of shows and different podcasts and stuff like that. What do you make of the NBA product right now?
When you say the product, are you talking about the players,
The
the
game
team?
overall.
How,
What do you think about the game that we're seeing
man,
on the court?
the game, the game is the game, right? And that's the life, right? The game is the game, and I know that's a simple answer, and people might say, "Well, what does that mean?" I mean, it's always going out there. You're trying to win. You're trying to compete. You're trying to score more than the other team. And then it comes down to the people involved. It comes down to your players out there, right? And the coaching staff and how you prepared and how do you approach the game? Do you approach it like a professional? Do you look like an NBA player out there? And then, the business side creeps into it. And things are done business wise because the NBA is a multi-billion dollar business. So all of those things happen. I like the game. I appreciate the game. I appreciate what it takes for people to get to that level. The NBA, which I feel is the best league out of all of the leagues, and that's just my bias probably, but just evaluating it. So I'm not I'm not discouraged by where the game is. Are there some things that's different that I'm not used to as an old head and stuff like that? Yeah, of course, man. I would like to see certain things, but again, you got to evolve. And again, the league, these guys are getting paid more money. They're getting more opportunities. They're getting to be on a platform and create their own platform. So you just see how the game is evolving. When I was a player, Mike,
Hmm.
it was criticized if you had any other interests, if you had any other things outside of the sport.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to see that these players can not only perform at a high level, how they can also do other things, whether it's podcasting, whether it's investing, whether it's music, whether it's fashion, whatever it is. It's refreshing. So just taking a step back and looking at the growth of everything holistically, I really appreciate it. Now the style is the style, and that's going to come and go. But as far as the game overall, man, I can appreciate it and I enjoy it.
So the guys having all these other interests while they're playing the game, do you think that's necessarily a good thing, or is that just what it is at this point?
I think it's a good thing for the individuals because that transition, man, and I went through it, and I'll say I suffered through it. The transition of just focusing on basketball, basketball night and day, basketball 24/7, 365. When you finish playing ball and you don't know, you don't feel, you don't have a passion for anything else, once that ball stops bouncing, that's a tough transition. So I feel
That's
like
true.
although you are giving your all on the court, if you do have some other passions or you have some other interests, you can dive into that and you increase your network where you can, outside of the basketball world, when it's time to, lean on people or lean on your resources for your children and your family or your next phase of life. I think these players are putting themselves in great positions to be able to do that and find other passions outside of the sport. The business of the sport and the way things have happened, it forced players into that mode. You look at players today, even not playing all 82 games, right? You got to protect your health. Before, if you're not leaving this game limping or with a bad back or bad knees, then you're in a bad position, man. So, I mean, I don't take anything away from those players who have other interests.
Now, when you speak with some of the guys that you've played with, whether it be Vince or T-Mac or Oakley, whoever it is, right? And then you speak to some of the younger cats that are playing now. Do you feel like there has been a shift or a change in mentality with the way that they approach the game?
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely it's a shift because again, the players have other interests. They have other opportunities. And I think the upbringing, and it starts early in youth sports. The way youth sports is structured. And, here in the States where AAU and, in Canada, all over, like AAU and youth sports is something, right? And the way people approach AAU, it creates a mentality. It creates a mindset where you can carry that over into your development, into your structure of the NBA world, where before there wasn't as much notoriety, there wasn't as many opportunities, there wasn't, you couldn't play in so many leagues and tournaments and things like that, and over. Like you had to get in where you fit in back in the day, and once you got to the NBA, you really was appreciative of that, and you understood the struggle. Players today, they don't have that same. You hear the word entitlement. You hear a lot of things when you talk about today's player, but their upbringing and their approach and the way what they witnessed and what they were part of from youth sports is totally different than what we were, right? What we were. So the mindset was different. The approach was different. And I used to tell people, man, I'll die out there on that court because I didn't know anything else. I'll play until my knees will fall off. I remember coaches telling me, yeah, you got to take practice off. No, I can't take practice off. This is a dream to be here. I went through this and you play through that. And I'm not taking any days off. Now, today, would I have done that if I can extend my career? Yes, most definitely. I would have taken some plays off and some games off and some practices off if I could play 2 or 3 extra years in the sport that I love. So again, it's just a different approach. It's a different structure, and it's a different mindset. Not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the way these young players in this generation has been brought up.
And you got players off the bench making 10 to 15 million, which is a lot different than what it was in the past. I think the money is a big thing as well, because a lot of these guys, if you look at their skill set, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them can't do what guys did in the past, and they're getting paid a hell of a lot more for not being able to prove what some of these guys had to prove back in the day. The money is coming easier. To a certain degree. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's coming easier because these guys have skill, but go ahead.
I won't say it's coming easier to your point, and you said that, but it's just different. It's more money out there, but again, the game has changed, right? The way we were taught to play the game and the way we approach the game was much different. Now, I can't say anything because I signed 3 different contracts. I had a 7-year deal. At that time, that was a good deal for me. And I could look at guys like a Dr. J or Charles Barkley or Magic Johnson. I was getting more money than those guys, and they probably looking at somebody like me, like, who the hell is Alvin Williams, man? Like, why is he getting this amount of money a year when I was the best player in NBA history, one of the best players, and this is what I got? So as time changed, things evolved, the money happens. It's all relative, right? Mm-hmm. So these players now, but the way we look at it and the way the game is played, it makes us look at it in a way where these guys aren't as good or they're not doing certain things that the greats did back then. But as a player today in the NBA, you have to be special in your role. And these guys are really, shooting is a big part of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's the game, again, has changed. Won't take anything away from it. The only thing I would like to see, or I would like to experience, is these young players, and they're young, to appreciate the moment and appreciate what they have and appreciate what they're a part of right now. because some people in this generation, I think, will take it for granted. They will take it for granted.
Mm.
And matter of fact, I took it for granted. And I didn't realize the moment that I was in. I was just in the moment. But I would urge them to not take it for granted, continue to perfect their art and still help this league grow, whatever that looks like and whatever lens that comes from. But, it's just one of those things. But as young people, you don't get it until you're my age. And I can give that jewel because I've been through it. I went through the ups and downs, and now I'm still part of it, sitting next to you at times, watching these games. Man, it's just something where you just hope the young people in this younger generation can really appreciate it and continue to push this league forward.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point there in regards to, appreciating where you are when you're there, because I want to bring up this next question in regards to LeBron James talking about, why would somebody want to be the face of the league right now when all these guys in the media are just shitting on these guys who are the face of the league? What are your thoughts about that? Because I heard Anthony Edwards come out and say he doesn't want to be the face of the league, or at least he doesn't really care to be. But what do you think about when you hear a player of his caliber say that, and then LeBron James kind of mentioned this pretty much the same thing?
I mean, I can see where they both come from, and never being in that position, but I can see it because there's so many media outlets, there's so many voices, and the interesting thing is the consumers of the NBA and pro sports, they listen to these people, they listen to these networks, they listen to these platforms, they listen to these media personalities, and they an opinion will derive from those, those statements and those things. And again, like why would you want to be a part of something they build you up just to tear you down when they get the first chance to do it? Mm-hmm. And that becomes part of everyone's entertainment throughout the day. Everyone's entertained by these debate forums, by everyone. And the most disappointing thing for me is when you see former athletes and even current athletes, but more of the former athletes, they're on these platforms and they have their own platforms and they're tearing people down. When you know exactly what you've been through, you know exactly what it takes, you know all of the things, you know the intricacies of being in this position, and you speak negatively about certain situations when you don't have to. You can really shed light to the people who really don't really have a clue, who's never been in that locker room, who's never been in them situations. But it's coming from their perspective and their point of view. So I get that. But I definitely get what LeBron is saying. Why be a part of something or want to be the torch, hold the torch to something where people's just dying to break it down and blow that flame out? And I think, again, man, they shouldn't be in such a rush to place somebody as the face of the league. Why put somebody in the face of the league? It takes 450 people to be a part of this thing. It's not just one person, right? It's not like the league doesn't need just that Michael Jordan or the Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, like everybody said. The league is in a great place. There's many people. There's people from different countries. There's people from different nationalities. There's different people from different backgrounds. Let the collective continue to do what they do and make this whole thing a great product.
Now, they also talked about not having an international player as the face of the game, right? It's got to be an American player because people in America would be able to, I guess, understand and feel the culture a bit more with an American-born player. What are your thoughts about that? When you have a Nikola Jokic or you have a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or a Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then you have, a guy like Wemby or Doncic or a guy like that. But can an international player pretty much be the face of the NBA is what I'm asking here.
It reminds me of segregation, dog. Segregation. Certain people can't do certain things because of where they're from, what their color is, what their gender is. Like if we're all part of a league and we're trying to be the world game, why not? If they're the best player, if they represent your product, if they represent the core in a way where that's the direction you want to go into, then why not? But again, like I give pushback to putting one person in that position because I don't feel like one person is in that position. Now, if you're that good and you're living life in a way where you can represent this NBA and it's not going to tear the NBA down, and you can fit in there and people will just acknowledge you and tip the hat to you, then guess what, man? Congrats to you. But if you're the Joker, if you're Giannis, if you're Shea, if you're Tatum, if you're me or you, like if we represent what this thing is all about, then why not? Who cares where you're from? Who cares what your makeup is? Who cares any of those things? If you're producing and you're helping your team win and you're helping to drive this league forward and creating the buzz and creating the momentum for this league to continue to go forward, then why not? Yeah, I don't buy into they can't be from a certain region or they can't be an international player. This is a league. This is a world game. David Stern, had an idea of making this a world game, making everyone from all over be able to play this game and succeed in this game. So I think that's a crazy thought not to have certain people represent this game if they're in a position to.
Alvin, last thing before we get out of here, is there any specific matchup you're looking forward to seeing in the playoffs, either in the East or the West?
So yeah, I mean it's different now. Now that Lucas is over, he's over at the Lakers. But I want to see Shea. I want to see Shea play, and I want to see Shea go against Jamal Murray. Man, I feel like those two Canadians, and they know each other, same position. It's like one of those things where I think both of them I know they both have crazy game and they're both talented teams, but that's something that I would love to see on that West side, the OKC and the Denver Nuggets, just for that alone. And then of course, Cleveland Cavaliers, they've earned their stripes. They've earned their stripes. They put the work in. They've gotten better and better. I love the acquisition with my young buck from Philly here, DeAndre Hunter. I think he's a big part of what they're going to do in the future. And in the New York Knicks, not just to see that city and the buzz. When New York is involved, it just brings that much attention to everything. But Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges, my Villanova young bucks, right? And then you see OG over there. And I like to see the big bodega, Karl Anthony Towns. I like to see what he's doing. So those four teams, I would love to see if they could ever match up and see what they do in the playoffs.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Alvin Williams, NBA analyst for the Toronto Raptors and Sportsnet. Alvin, I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for doing this. And by the way, man, that last episode I did with you went really, really well, and a lot of people were asking for you. So I'm pretty much just giving the people what they want. Okay.
Oh man, and call me anytime. But let me get some of them. Let me get some money off of that joint. Let me see. Let me see.
If I start making some of that YouTube money, I'll break you off a little piece. Okay. All right. Appreciate you, man. Thank you, bro.
All right. No doubt.
All right.